每日新闻栏目，每天一起精读一则时事新闻。印度最近取得了一系列太空探索的历史性突破，其中包括成功升空的 Aditya-L1 太空船和 Chandrayaan-3登陆月球表面。本文将深入探讨 Aditya-L1 的使命。该太空船是印度首个专门研究太阳的太空探测器，旨在位于太阳和地球之间的拉格朗日点1观察太阳活动。同时，我们将了解到这些太空探索如何有助于更好地理解太空天气，以及它们对地球和我们的通信系统产生的影响。让我们一起探索印度作为新兴太空超级大国的崭露头角之旅。
CNN, India launched its first spacecraft dedicated to studying the sun, building on a month of historic successes for the country's civil space efforts. The spacecraft, called Aditya-L1, launched from Sriharikota, an island off the Bay of Bengal, at 11:50 a.m. Saturday local time, 2:20 a.m. Eastern Time. And it's headed to a parking spot in orbit about 930,000 miles, 1.5 million kilometers, from Earth. The successful liftoff of Aditya-L1 comes less than 2 weeks after India's space agency, the Indian Space Research Organisation, made history by landing its Chandrayaan-3 spacecraft on the lunar surface. The achievement made India only the 4th nation in the world, and the 2nd in the 21st century, to land a vehicle safely on the moon. That mission is expected to conclude next week. Meanwhile, Aditya-L1 is heading for its destination at Lagrange Point 1, an area that lies between the Sun and Earth where the gravitational pull of both celestial objects cancel each other out. That location will allow Aditya-L1 to remain in orbit, in a position optimal for observing the Sun's activities, with minor fuel consumption. This position will provide a greater advantage of observing the solar activities and its effect on space weather in real time, according to the space agency. The spacecraft is equipped with 7 scientific instruments, 4 of which will be trained directly on the Sun while the others will study solar wind particles and magnetic fields passing through at Lagrange Point 1. The main goals of the mission include studying the Sun's upper atmosphere and various solar phenomenon, such as coronal mass ejections, or massive expulsions of plasma from the Sun's outermost layer. The information gleaned from Aditya-L1's experiments will provide a clearer picture of space weather, or the term used to describe the magnetic waves rippling through our solar system. Space storms can have an impact on Earth when they reach our atmosphere, occasionally affecting satellites, radio communications, and even power grids, according to the U.S. National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. India's Aditya-L1 will add to information gathered on other missions designed to study the Sun, including NASA's ongoing Parker Solar Probe that in 2021 became the first spacecraft to touch the Sun. India's first dedicated solar mission adds to the country's status as an emerging space superpower.
Spacecraft. 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 Dedicated. 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 Aditya-L1. 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 Sriharikota. 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 Bay of Bengal. Bay of Bengal. Bay of Bengal. Orbit. 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 Liftoff. 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 Chandrayaan-3. 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 Lunar. 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 Lagrange point. Lagrange point. Lagrange point. Gravitational. 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 Celestial. 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 Optimal. 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 Solar wind. Solar wind. Solar wind. Magnetic fields. Magnetic fields. Magnetic fields. Coronal mass ejections. Coronal mass ejections. Coronal mass ejections. Expulsions. 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 Space weather. Space weather. Space weather. Rippling. 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 Parker's solar probe. Parker's solar probe. Parker's solar probe. Emerging. 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 Superpower. Superpower. Superpower.
这个句子的结构如下。主句里的主语是 The successful liftoff of Aditya L1，Aditya L1 成功的升空。谓语 counts 发生。时间状语从句 Less than 2 weeks after Indian Space Agency, the Indian Space Research Organization made history by landing its Chandrayaan-3 spacecraft on the lunar surface。这部分描述了什么时候发生的。在这个句子中，主要的事件是 The successful liftoff of Aditya L1，Aditya L1 成功的升空，然后通过时间状语从句描述了这一事件发生的时间，即在印度的空间机构印度空间研究组织成功将其 Chandrayaan-3 太空船着陆在月球表面不到2周之后。这个句子传达了2个重要事件之间的时间关系。我们来分析看看这里的长难句。这句话的结构是一个复杂的并列句，由2个并列的子句组成，用逗号连接。下面是句子的详细解释。主句 The spacecraft is equipped with 7 scientific instruments， 主语加谓语。主语 The spacecraft 太空船。谓语 is equipped with 7 scientific instruments， 装备了7台科学仪器。第一个并列子句 4 of which will be trained directly on the sun， 用来修饰主句中的 7 scientific instruments。主语 4 4个。谓语 will be trained 将被定向。直接宾语 on the sun 对太阳。关系代词引导的定语从句 which 指代主句中的 7 scientific instruments。第二个并列子句While the others will study solar wind particles and magnetic fields passing through at Lagrange point 1， 用来修饰主句中的 7 scientific instruments。连词 while 表示对比关系，与第一个子句对比。主语 the others 其他3个。谓语 will study 将研究。宾语 solar wind particles and magnetic fields passing through at Lagrange point 1， 太阳风粒子和穿过拉格朗日点1的磁场。这部分也是一个并列结构，包括了2个并列的名词短语 solar wind particles 太阳风粒子和 magnetic fields passing through at Lagrange point 1， 穿过拉格朗日点1的磁场。总体来说，这句话描述了太空船装备了7台科学仪器，其中4台将直接对准太阳，而其他3台将研究穿过拉格朗日点1的太阳风粒子和磁场。它使用了复杂的结构来提供详细的信息。